Hey traders, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, we are going to be looking at trading a ranging period. So something really different for my channel. I don't talk about this a lot. Because I swing trade and I positional trade, I'm usually looking for a really strong trending market so that I can ride and kind of scale into a position as much as I can. However, I know I have a lot of you here who day trade, intraday trade, and scalp. So I do want to cater to you guys as well. And as you know, the market's often in a range. So you do need to learn how to trade within these periods if you're day trading and scalping. Disclaimer, I just filmed this entire video and realized my sound was off. So it's actually my second time filming this. So hopefully it's just as good as the first time. I had a really great one filmed. But anyway, yeah, we'll just get right into it. So the first way we're going to look at when we're looking at trading within the range is the most common way, and it's the breakout of the range. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. Basically, what we're going to do for this method is draw in our zones. Usually on the higher time frames, I'm on the 4 hour. You can also do this on the daily, but in this case, the 4 hour works nicely because we can see the range really clearly here. I'm actually going to fix this in a second because this is a little bit off. I want to haul this down to include that lower wick and rejection there. So I want to include as many wicks as I can when I draw my zones. I'm actually going to remove this EMA because we're not really going to use it. So these are our two zones where the ranging period is kind of happening between, okay? It's this major support here and this major resistance up here. And so when we trade the breakout method for this, like, it's really going to be more of a swing opportunity because it's not going to happen usually for a couple days to weeks where you'll get that break of a long range like this. However, you can definitely day trade it if you're, kind of stalking the chart or you set a pending order. But essentially what we want to do is wait for a break above or a break below the ranging period. And when you look for a break, so normally what will happen, of course, you need to go back and look at structure and see, which way you're trending on the higher time frames and all of those things. So I actually have a full video analyzing this pair in particular from yesterday, so I can link that for you. So I'm not going to get into all that stuff, but essentially what we want to do is wait for a nice breakout candle to occur. And you can take the trade one of two ways. So you can do it the way I do it, which is normally on the breakout. Okay, I'll go to the 15-minute chart. I'll wait for a nice long-bodied candle like the one I just drew in, obviously less ugly than that. And then I'll take the trade on the second candle after it, assuming it's also bullish going in the direction I want. I take the trade then on the next candle. That's one way you can do it. Another way you could do it is wait for a retest and with rejection. Okay, so you'd wait for price to kind of break above, come back down, look for a nice strong rejection candle like a doji, something like this with a nice long wick. And then, of course, you're going to need confirmation. For me, it's a 15-minute candle looking like this with a nice long body, not too much rejection, and you take the buy. Okay, same thing with our support. So if we had a break below looking like this, nice long bodied pure breakout candle. Here's the thing, you always want your breakout candle to close. If you enter before it closes, you're risking entering with a false break, okay, or slippage, whatever it's happening due to. Likely it's news related. But yeah, wait for that to close and then enter on the next candle. So obviously if you're a scalper, guys, you're going to want to use the lower time frames, like something like the 5-minute, 3-minute, whatever you want to use. You're going to miss a lot of your entry if you use the 15-minute or the 4 hour. So just totally depends on your style. If I were position trading this, I'd actually wait for the same thing to occur here or here, but on the 4 hour. So it really depends on your style. That's why I don't talk too much about time frames, because it just depends. You guys have got to get used to using time frames that are appropriate for your strategy and not relying on other people's. I see that happen a lot. People will ask what time frame, but you really need to think about, your entry and how you're trading it and what style you're using, what your risk reward looks like. So it's hard for me to give you, a set time frame for things. The next way you can trade the range is to actually trade the support and resistance of the range. So again, I'm not going to write that out. I shouldn't have deleted that. But this being our resistance zone and this being our support zone, you're just looking to enter at the retest of each of these zones. Okay. So very, very simple. You'd be looking for, to enter here. You had a breakout here and then you had a retest. I would look for rejection. Again, rejection being, a doji, a hammer, a candle with nice strong rejection to it. And then of course, confirmation. We never enter a trade without confirmation. To reiterate, for me, I use a long-bodied candle going in my intended direction on the 5 or 15-minute time frame. Coming up to this area, again, what we would do, so we're retesting resistance right here, or we're testing resistance. I would enter personally at the next candle. So you can go down to the lower time frame if you're, again, a day trader. That's where I would enter, and you're just going to take it back down again to that support. So you're trading each time within the ranging period. Now, seems pretty easy, but here's something I want you guys to take note of. And let me just get rid of some of this before we talk about it. So what I'm going to talk about next is called order absorption. And I've talked about it before. I actually have a full video on it. But essentially what it means is that at each retest of your support or resistance, okay? So this would be our first retest of resistance, right? This is going to be our second. At each retest of that structure, there are less sellers willing to get into the market, okay? So this will be our third. So there are less people here. Why? This happens because we as traders know, and kind of the big guys, the institutions, the hedge funds, they know that after each retest of this period or of this structure, not as many people are going to get back in, and they're not going to get as good of an entry. So self-fulfilling prophecy, less people get back in. And you can see that happening over time. Like even here, look at the fourth time. Price attempted to come back to that level, but it didn't even get there. Right? So you can really see this, and it plays out again here. So we've had actually a couple retests. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there are less people willing to get back, or less buyers willing to get back into the market each time this support is retested. Okay. And eventually what will happen is you'll get a breakout, right? So it just won't be respected anymore, and you'll get a breakout in either direction. Some people will argue that this doesn't actually happen, that support and resistance gets stronger at each touch. That doesn't make much sense to me, because if it got stronger every time, then we'd never get a breakout and we'd all be millionaires. So that just never made sense to me. But I do have a full video on order absorption if you want to watch that. So it's a pretty cool phenomenon, mostly to do with self-fulfilling prophecy, like most things in Forex trading are, especially with patterns and, indicators, structure, things like that. So just keep that in mind. Once you get to, the second, third retest, just keep your stop loss a little tighter would be my recommendation, because you might not catch as good of an entry, or you could end up getting a false breakout or a breakout. So just keep that in mind. The next way I'm going to talk about, and this is probably the second most common method, so I probably should have used it as number 2, but anyway, would be trading support and resistance within the range. Okay, so it would be like trading the micro zones. And I'm calling them the micro zones, but when I draw zones, I still do use the 4-hour. I don't use anything less than the 4-hour, but by all means, guys, if you want to use 15-minute zones, you can. That's totally your call. I'm not here to say that's wrong. It's just not my way of doing it. So the way this method would work, and this is really common with day traders and scalpers, because you're not going to be able, like if you're a day trader, you're looking for opportunities most days of the week, right? So if you were to wait for this range to be over, you're hardly ever going to get an entry. So if the euro yen is your pair, you're going to try to be catching entries within this period, and that makes sense, right? So what I would do is find your support and resistance areas within this range. So we have, a few that I can spot that have been tested as support, as resistance, and have been broken. Now there are a bunch, but I'll draw in about 3 just so that we don't have our chart looking too messy. And the next thing I'll do, hang on, there we go. The next thing I'm also going to do is delete these areas. So I'm going to delete the major support and resistance here just so that it doesn't look too messy. We can actually get rid of our writing as well. All right. And so the way this works is, very basic in terms of how we normally trade. So you can take the breakout of your micro zones, I guess I'll call them, or we can trade the retest. So when it comes back down and retest that area. So it would have been about here. Again, we have a breakout here and then a retest here of that zone. And you could take a sell and you're just trading zone to zone within here. So ultimately what we're doing, let's get rid of that so it doesn't look too messy. Ultimately what we're doing here is just trading from area to area, right? So zone to zone. If you prefer to use support and resistance lines, by all means, it works the same way. I just prefer to use zones. That's how I've learned, and that's how I really like to trade. So we're getting a breakout here. You could take that breakout down to this zone, right? And this was actually our major support. So this area is going to be a nice target whenever you sell, and this is going to be a nice target whenever you buy. You don't need to use those as areas or as your zones your target zones, but it's going to be much more accurate, and it'll also give you a better risk reward when you're trying to take it kind of area to area. If you're a scalper though, you're probably not going to want to hold on to it that long. Just totally depends on your style. Here's another example, you guys, of a buy. You could have bought here and rode up to this zone here, okay? Or you could have waited for a retest here and sold back down to this zone. So there's a whole bunch of kind of buying and selling, and you're not really, the trend you're looking for here would be on the lower time frame. So even like the 15-minute, you'd be probably plotting your EMAs or just using your smaller trend lines. And trying to go with that trend. Or if you just want to take it zone to zone, you could also do it that way. This would definitely be the least reliable way to trade within the range, but it certainly can be done. And again, using the right methods and the right confirmation, you can definitely do that. I would not trade it this way, but again, I do try to accommodate, I have a lot of day traders and scalpers here. So trying to put out as much content geared toward everyone as I can. And I think that's it, you guys. So those are the 3 methods. Hopefully I did an okay job this time. I probably liked the first one more, but you wouldn't have been able to hear me. So if you like my videos, please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. Hit the bell if you want to get notified when I post a video. But to be honest, I'm uploading every day this month. So that's nice and easy for you. It's not usually at the same time, but usually sometime in the afternoon time EST. So that's it. I'm going to leave you there. Let me know what you want to see next, and I'll see you in the next video.